Hello, everyone, and welcome to UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. I am Maya Engel, live in our digital studio. We're going to get right to Joe with some weather because we do have a lot to discuss today. But before that, Joe, let's talk a little bit about this lovely day we're having and maybe a preview of that tomorrow.
In some ways, it's not going to rain tomorrow, but the thing tomorrow, it may rain. So,
okay.
Yeah. We have some rain coming in tonight late. So it'll be, long after even we do the late news, even after we're asleep tonight. Some rain into early tomorrow. And then, maybe a shower or thunderstorm during the day tomorrow, Maya, as a cold front arrives. And then next week, we were talking about this yesterday, but we still believe we're going to get some warm, maybe hot weather in here next week. So, it's been a little cool so far in June, but I think we're going to flip the page on that heading into next week.
And you'll have much more on that in main weather in a couple of minutes. So we will see you then. But we're going to get right into our main story today. So what was first called a network irregularity is now being called a ransomware incident that's impacting network services in Grand Traverse County and the city of Traverse City. And now the FBI and state police are involved. Our Allie Baxter has been following this story all day. She talked with city and county administrators to find out what they believe the problem is.
Is attached to our network is currently being affected.
Grand Traverse County Administrator Nate Alger sits side by side with Traverse City Manager Liz Vogel as the two share what they know so far about a ransomware cyber attack targeting their shared network systems. It was discovered Wednesday morning by Central Dispatch.
They're a 24/7 operation. They're the ones that are using our system, and it makes sense that they were the first to see it.
Once noticed, Nate says staff decided
to shut the network off, and that is the situation that we are currently in.
The two explain disruptions are noticeable with in-person customer services, especially if it requires a connection to the city and county's network. But they assure
the county and the city are open for business. All essential services are up and operational. So if you call 911, you're going to reach a dispatcher. If you need a police car, you're going to get one, or a fire truck or an ambulance.
The city and county are working closely to mitigate disruptions. Nate says the county is sharing mobile hotspots.
As time went on this morning, I realized that you prepare for the worst, you brace yourselves for it. But I think this is a good situation. I mean, it's not a good situation, but I think we're handling it well, and I think this is a best case under these circumstances.
This could literally be anything.
It could be fairly mundane.
Tim Gillen is the owner of Terrapin Networks, a tech solution security company. As Tim explains, the effect on all county and city services indicates it's a widespread issue.
They may have seen an outside attack that was trying to get in, and they caught it and are very busy making sure that they caught everything.
Catching everything from someone who may have tried to get into the network system. To compare, Tim uses the example of someone attempting to break into a house.
Someone has to physically be at your premises to be able to rattle your front door or to be able to break a window and sneak in through a window. It's not true on the internet. We are next door. You are connected next door to Malaysia, Indonesia, Eastern Europe, any place. And they can also rattle your front door, metaphorically, through automated systems where no one even tries to get in. They're just pinging all these things in an automated fashion. If they get some kind of access, it alerts the bad guys to start focusing on Grand Traverse County.
So Allie Baxter, who worked on that story, is with us now. We are also going to bring in Nate Alger. He is the county administrator for Grand Traverse County. So Nate, thanks so much for joining us. I know it's been a pretty crazy day. Before we get into any questions, I do want to just tell our viewers who are watching, if you folks have any specific questions for Nate, you can leave a comment and we will try to get through those. But gosh, Allie, where do you think we should start with Nate?
Oh my goodness. Well, Nate, I feel like we've already spent so much time together today. We spent the morning together. Now we're spending some of the evening together. I guess just for our viewers to know what has changed since this morning when originally we were calling this a network irregularity.
Good evening, Maya and Allie, and thank you for having me. So yes, this morning we recognized that one of our central dispatch applications was not working properly. So our dispatch supervisor contacted that vendor. The vendor actually recognized some nefarious activity within the application and our network. So early this morning, our IT director contacted me and the decision was made to shut the network off so that we did not have any further damage to the network. Since then, we've worked feverishly through the day with our IT department, the city, our liability provider, and an IT consultant that is ultimately going to help us work through this issue. And we identified that this is, in fact, a ransomware issue.
And how did you identify that?
Through the discussion with the IT consultant, they asked very specific questions about what was impacted, what is working, what is not working, how it came noticed, et cetera. Whatever markets they have or metrics they use, they recognize that for certain this is a ransomware attack, and likely a very specific ransomware attack that I just cannot provide you the name of.
So was any sensitive data lost throughout this attack?
Early on, it looks like it was not lost. We have some metrics that show that no large data had been moved over a period of days, weeks, or months, but that is something that's going to have to be discussed with consultants going further, and I'm certain that the FBI and state police are going to be interested in that as well.
Nate, something that I asked you about earlier that we earlier today said was a little bit up in the air still was when some of these services are going to be fully restored. Is that still up in the air a little bit?
It is, Allie. We have different servers servicing different applications. So the county has some activities and applications that are in the cloud. As an example, our payroll and HR system is not network served, it's in the cloud. So that application is fully operational. So we'll be able to pay people and make sure that we're recording time appropriately. There are some applications that are on our network, and any application that is on our network is not functional right now. So we are working on workarounds to get those applications back up and running as soon as possible. And we're working through that process right now. So it could be days, it could be a week or two, and it depends to a certain degree on what level of nefarious activity is within the data that we have backed up.
And can you go into a little more detail about exactly which services are being impacted and then which ones are not?
Certainly. So I mentioned the Workday product, our human resources and finance ERP, that is not impacted because it's cloud-based. Our internet, our websites, those are not impacted. Services specific to like BS&A, which is a software and application that many cities and counties use in the state of Michigan to manage utility services and payments and receipting. That is a network provided application, and those do not work right now.
And what about emergency services?
Yes. So some of the emergency services, specifically within the sheriff's department, the city police, and dispatch, are network supported. So those services are not being provided or not available to specifically dispatch and law enforcement. But there's a redundant system, and it's old school. There's a pen and a piece of paper and a map that if someone calls 911, you're going to talk to a dispatcher. They're going to describe the emergency they're experiencing, and the dispatchers are going to be able to relay that information to first responders, and those first responders will get to that emergency.
What are some next steps? We know that there is an investigation underway. What are some of those agencies that you're working with as we move forward?
So for us, truly, we're trying to measure a balance between restoring our services as soon as possible and cooperating with law enforcement, because the end goal is the same for both of us, but our interests right now are mainly not necessarily finding who the actor is. Certainly we have an interest in that, but we want to restore our services as soon as possible, completely, so we can provide the services that we're tasked with completing. And the second step is to identify, was there any data lost here? Was there any personally protected information shared with people who aren't supposed to have it? While we don't think so right now, we know that there's going to be some type of an audit of this situation that will likely show, if any, what was the data that was shared.
Nate, is there anything else that you want the public to know about this incident that we haven't really touched on yet?
Yeah, so this is something that happens every day. This is something that Grand Traverse County talks about routinely. In fact, we were talking about preparing for a tabletop with department heads specific to a cyber attack. And we don't talk about if this happens, we talk about when this happens. And we actually have a continuation of operations plan called a COOP plan that we were able to activate today that says, how do we handle a cyber attack? What do we do next? So I really want the community to know that this is not something that was expected, certainly, but it's something that we have prepared for and discussed. And you have the county staff, city staff are resilient, and they're able to provide the service they are able to provide, and that you can have a certain level of comfort knowing that those services are still available today.
And has something like this happened before to the county and the city?
We have had attempts. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we had a spear phishing attack at the county, and because the county has taken significant strides over the last 5 years to embolden our infrastructure and protect our virus devices that we use on the network to detect these scenarios, we identified the spear phishing attack, we contained it, and it had no impact whatsoever. So I have to thank the county, the Board of Commissioners, for approving those additions because they're costly. But when you have a situation like today, the cost benefit analysis is one-sided, truly. And we're going to have to take this, we're going to look at it, and we're going to have to make recommendations going forward about additional add-ons.
All right. Well, Nate, thank you so much for joining us and for providing us with that update. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you a lot more in the future with this situation. So thank you so much.
Indeed. Thank you, Maya and Allie, for having me.
Thank you.
Nate.
Well, Allie, I'm going to keep you around and I'm going to pull up our question of the day, which is, have you invested in a security system to protect your private devices? 58% of people have said yes. 42% of people have said no. If you haven't voted yet, you can scan the QR code on your screen now. But Allie, something interesting that you mentioned earlier is that all government agencies have to have a security system. Is that right?
Yes, and they also have to have insurance in case anything like this does happen that is legally required by the state of Michigan. That was something that we learned this morning. It's something that City Manager Vogel had touched on, and that was something that I personally didn't know about before, and I felt like it went kind of nicely with our question of the day.
Definitely. It's interesting because it makes sense why companies and big organizations would want some sort of security system. But I think a lot of individuals, they don't think that they would need that just for themselves. But like Nate said, this kind of thing happens every day. And sure, these, bad actors tend to target bigger organizations, but you never know when something like this could happen to you personally or to your family.
Exactly, and I think we're all familiar too with the random text messages you get saying, hey, your UPS package is lost, or the certain emails that we get, or the malware that comes up on our computer, and we think we're, not really susceptible to those different scareware attacks is the word that was used earlier when I was talking to one of our cybersecurity experts that helped with that story. And he said, I did ask him about our question of the day. Should people invest in a security system when we just have a phone or a laptop? And he said, absolutely. If you want to be protected, that's the best way to do it. It's peace of mind too.
Sure. All right. Well, Allie, thank you so much for joining us and for your great report today. And we're going to take a short break here on UpNorthLive Unscripted. I will put up our question of the day full screen for those of you watching online. You can scan the QR code to vote. And when we come back, we're going to check in with our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday and maybe got outside today to enjoy the nice weather. Speaking of weather, let's bring in our meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. And Joe, you were just, I mean, you're right all the time, let's be honest. But this week,
No,
so
I'm
far,
not all the time.
you are definitely nailing it this week. You kind of said every day was going to get a little warmer. Here we are, halfway through the week. It was 80 degrees today.
Yeah, 85 in Traverse City today.
Wow.
In West Branch. So yeah, it was warm. The big warm up though is going to be next week.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got this warm stretch right now, Maya, but then we're going to cool down Friday. So, we're going to kind of knock it down a little bit and then build it right back up again next week.
So how warm are we talking for next week?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some 90s.
Wow.
Is that good enough, you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go any
pretty warm.
warmer than that.
Yeah. Let's take a look. I'll take a look at the temperatures right now. We'll start with that. And you can see these are the current readings here as of, we're almost 7 o'clock. Traverse City still hanging on there, 83. Alpena, 82. And we have almost 80 degrees all the way up to the bridge there at Pelston. There is some active weather coming in. We're not looking at severe weather here tonight, but upstream, you see that frontal boundary. Just out ahead of that, there's some pretty significant weather up in Minnesota. Now, in our area, way, way out ahead of that, we've had some clouds. And then I'm going to slow this down just in the last hour. We've had a little bit of rain right here crossing over the eastern UP. It's not a lot, nothing too big. But off to the west, we'll head out this way. Yeah, look at these big storms, Maya. Those are pretty intense. They're in parts of Minnesota tonight. What I'm going to do is lay down. I'm going to take the radar off here. And all the orange areas are severe thunderstorm warnings. And then this storm up here, there's a tornado warning on this storm up there in Minnesota. We're not looking at any severe weather from that, but that is where our storms are going to initiate from that will head here later tonight. So if we time this out overnight, here's kind of what we're looking at. This is around midnight, 1 o'clock. You might see some lightning in the northwest sky, but any rain here will probably not get here until after 2, 3 in the morning, right there. So it'll be later tonight, rain and embedded thunder. Again, I don't think we're going to get severe weather here. There's tomorrow morning, still some rain south of Cadillac early in the day. And then our main cold front comes in tomorrow, and later in the evening, chance for a few storms in the afternoon. So I guess the best way to describe this, rain late tonight, and then a chance for some scattered storms tomorrow afternoon and evening. And then we'll dry things out. Friday looks pretty nice. Also, next week, we talked about that warm up. I want to show you these temperatures. So Sunday, 60s, because we do expect some rain, especially north. That's the leading edge of the warm air. But look by Monday afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look at Grand Rapids, maybe in the mid-90s, close to that at Traverse City. And then here is Tuesday, even up at Marquette, up in the UP, around 90 degrees. And then here's Wednesday, same thing. So some hot weather set to roll in here as we head into next week. And the extended forecast kind of reflecting that. We'll cool down briefly Friday. Friday is going to be nice. Saturday, nice start to the weekend. I don't know if you have plans, Maya, but a nice start to the weekend. Looks pretty good. And then Father's Day, we might dodge some rain as that warmer air comes in. That'll kick off some showers and storms. And then hot, hazy, and humid next week. These are average highs. Look at Tuesday, 85 and around 90.
Oh, my goodness.
Into next week. So
well, we are kind of due for that hot weather. It's June.
Yeah, we've had, so we had 60s earlier this week. So if you like the cooler weather, that you had that, and then we're going to get that big warm up next week. And round of rain later tonight. That's good for the gardens tonight.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Joe. We're going to take another quick break here on Up North Live Unscripted. When we come back, we will see what Sports Director Harrison Beebe is up to today. Stick around. You're watching Up North Live Unscripted at 6:30. Welcome back, everyone, to UpNorthLive Unscripted. Let's bring in Sports Director Harrison Beebe live from the Content Center. And Harrison, kind of seems like today maybe the calm before the storm for high school baseball and softball.
Did you just steal that line from my intro at 6?
No?
Oh,
don't
really?
think
That
so.
was my intro line to Sports at 6 tonight.
Oh.
I have a feeling you heard it, though, and that's where
Maybe I did. Maybe I heard it. And
That's okay, though. It's a good line. I'd steal it if I was in your position.
It seems accurate, right?
Yeah, the next 3 days, we kind of touched on it yesterday because we knew right when the softball games wrapped up yesterday when we talked on the show that we're going to be a lot of games. 5 total will be going down from Thursday to Friday. I'll be getting up at 6 a.m. tomorrow to be heading down to these games. This is Gaylord getting a win over Muskegon Oak Ridge in the quarterfinals. I mean, Gaylord has just crushed teams on their way to a potential repeat. I went back and looked in the archives. Gaylord had a lot of close games on their way to a state championship a year ago. This year in the postseason, they're blowing teams out. I think their closest game has been like 7 or 8 runs. Their closest game. So, not trying to put them on a pedestal, but I'll be very shocked if Gaylord does not hoist up a repeat championship. We know Clare and Everett. We could see Clare and Everett meet in the state finals in Division III in softball if they both win their semifinals. So we'd have an all Northern Michigan state championship game, which would be kind of nuts, especially because those two communities are kind of right down the street from each other too. And the Hillman Tigers, shout out to them up in the northeast part of the state. I remember covering them in the 2015 Final Four, and they're going to get the chance to play in the state softball semifinals again this year. So loaded day, plus Charlevoix baseball will be that first game tomorrow at 9 a.m. So busy day, but as we all know, when it's the state finals, it always gives you that little extra oomph, whether you're a reporter or a player, to put some serious coverage into that one.
Exactly. And like you said, Harrison, tomorrow's going to be an early morning for you. So we will let you go so you can go, get your beauty rest and everything. But have so much fun this weekend covering. I'm looking forward to all your coverage tomorrow on Up.
Yep. We'll touch base with you this time tomorrow, if that's okay.
Okay. I'll squeeze you into this show.
Oh,
all right. Thanks, Harrison. We're going to take another short break on UpNorthLive Unscripted. When we come back, we'll check our final results for our question of the day. Stick around. Let's take one last look at our question of the day. Have you invested in a security system to protect your private devices? 58% of people have said yes, 42 have said no. Scan that QR code on your screen now to vote. And in case you missed our story about the ransomware incident in Traverse City and Grand Traverse County, you can rewatch this or go to our website, upnorthlive.com. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you later tonight.